Hear about this attack on Trenton, the fact that these Hessians have been overrun, and so on January 2nd of 1777, General Charles Cornwallis sends reinforcements to Trenton. When they arrive, they make plans to attack the next morning. That night, they look over and they see the campfires of the Continental Army burning. However, when they attacked the next morning, they found those campfires still smoldering. And Washington had what? Disappeared. He had disappeared. He did not want to confront. So Washington's forces slipped quietly away during the night, leaving their campfires burning to deceive the British. This was a stunning victory for the Continental Army. Stunning victory. What else did it boost for the colonial cause? What? What'd you say?
Moral support.
Morale. Yeah, it brought tremendous morale. It was a big morale boost for the colonial cause. And what happened because of that morale boost? What happened to that Continental Army? Those guys didn't leave on the 31st. They actually got more people to enlist, and the militia got more involved. So they became stronger. Okay, they became stronger. As a result of that, they continued their offensive by attacking Princeton and defeating the British there. So the Continental Army's got their confidence up, morale boost, get some more help. They march to Princeton, New Jersey, and take that area as well from the British. And after that, they continue to march, and they win a victory at New Brunswick, New Jersey. So they are on the offensive now, kicking butt and taking names. Now, because of these victories in New Jersey, British General Sir William Howe pulled all British troops out of New Jersey and brought them back to where? New York. Yeah, they got their tails kicked in New Jersey. And this victory in New Jersey resulted in British General Sir William Howe pulling all British troops out of New Jersey and back into New York. Now it also, as I mentioned, gave Americans new hope they could win battles against the British, and Washington's Continental Army continues to grow and continues to grow because of these victories. Now, think about this when we talk about unsung heroes. None of this happens without who?
Honeycomb.
John Honeyman. None of this happens without Honeyman, who chose to be an American spy, who gave Washington the information he needed to win a victory at Trenton, which led to a victory at Princeton, which led to a victory at New Brunswick. Without people like John Honeyman, this Revolutionary War could have been over prior to that. Another unsung hero we don't know a lot about. Okay, that's going to take us to the Battle of Bound Brook. The Battle of Bound Brook. Now, let me make a scenario here. Kyra Klinghagen is a pretty good diver. Now, do you think you have the ability to win the state championship in diving? You got some competition?
Yeah.
Okay, how many? Couple girls?
Yeah,
Oh.
like 3 or 4.
Okay, they've been slapping around a little bit lately?
Yeah.
Okay, so Kira's getting slapped around a little bit. Just like the British should be getting slapped around a little bit by the Americans. Well, all of a sudden, these British people and Kyra are so mad that they've been getting slapped around. Even though they've been slapped around, it gives her more of a determination. By God, when I get to state, I'm going to whip those 2 girls. I'm going to win the whole thing. She's doing extra dives. She's perfecting her dives. She's working hard because she's mad that she's got knocked around a little bit during the season. Well, the British were mad too that they were getting knocked around a little bit in New Jersey, so it gave them even more determination. By God, we're going to end this Revolutionary War by the end of 1777. So it was a little bit of a motivator for them. And they came up with a new plan, and if you look at the map up here, their goal now is they want to separate the New England states from the rest of the colonies. That's going to be their goal. They think if they can cut the New England states off from the rest of the colonies, they will win the war. So what is the border between the New England states and the colonies? New York, right here. So the battles are going to be in these areas here of New York and in the New England states. It just so happens that when they make up this goal to separate New England from the rest of the colonies, they're going to have to capture New York to do that. They're going to have to capture the whole thing. The first battle will be in Connecticut. Okay? Because in Connecticut, at Danbury, there is a bunch of army ammunition and supplies that belong to the colonists that the British want. So the first place the British are going to strike when they get this new renewed confidence is they're going to attack into Connecticut at Danbury. And they do that on April 13th, 1777. And the entire goal is to gain possession of colonial ammunition and supplies that are being hidden there. Okay? So, the British defeats at Trenton, Princeton, and New Brunswick gave them more determination to end the war in 1777. The British then devised a plan to separate New England from the rest of the colonies by capturing New York. On April 13th, 1777, the British assault a town called Danbury, Connecticut. And they're looking to seize the colonial army ammunition and supplies there. So they attack. They're looking for the supplies. They're not having much luck. So they figure the best way to destroy that ammunition and supplies, if they can't have it, is to do what? Burn down the town. And so they set Danbury on fire. So on April 13th, 1777, the British assault on the town of Danbury, Connecticut begins. The British are looking to seize colonial army ammunition and supplies. They're looking for this ammunition and supplies. They can't really find it. Their philosophy is, we can't have it, we'll destroy it. And they set Danbury ablaze. Well, at this point, Danbury's in panic. So they send a messenger to Fredericksburg, New York, to alert the militia there, so the militia can come to Danbury and bail them out, okay, because they're getting overrun by the British. So at this point, a messenger slips out of Danbury. He rides his horse as fast as he can. After being involved in the entire situation there, he arrives at Fredericksburg, and he's going to warn the militia. Well, if you're going to warn the militia, who are you going to warn specifically? Well, the leader of the New York militia, whoever that is. You got to go to his house. And his name is Henry Luddington. So this messenger leaves Danbury as they're burning the town, looking for this ammunition and supplies, and he rides as hard as he can to New York to the farm of Henry Luddington, who is the leader of 400 to 500 militia in New York, begging that Luddington get his militia together and ride to Connecticut and bail them out, because they're in trouble. Well, Luddington and his men are the only one in the area that's going to be able to save Danbury and save this ammunition and these supplies. Well, are all of his militiamen spending the night with him that night? No, they're all over the countryside. So they have to be what? Alerted and rounded up, and he wants them all to come back to his farm so he can get them organized. So he tells the messenger, I know you're tired, I know you can't go anymore, but you've got to continue on, my man. You've got to continue on and ride to these farmhouses and get these militiamen and tell them to report to my farm so I can get them organized. And he can't do it. He is shot. Well, Luddington can't do it himself because he's got to stay there and organize the men. So he needs to know a volunteer. And here comes another unknown member of American history that helped save the day. His daughter, 16-year-old Sybil Luddington, says to her father, I will take the message. I will be the message carrier. I will go round up these militiamen. She's an incredibly strong-willed girl, very experienced rider. And obviously she knows the location of these homes, right? Because she's lived there her entire life. And Henry Luddington is forced to send his 16-year-old daughter Sybil out on a dangerous ride to try to get this militia organized. She rides all night long, kids. She covers 40 miles alone and informs her father's men to report to the farm, which they do. Paul Revere, the most famous messenger in American history, didn't do squat. He rode 24 miles less than Sybil did and had 2 guys with him. This girl rode 40 miles alone, 24 more miles than Revere did, and brought the same word to get these people lined up. There, kiddos, is an American hero you've never heard of. 16-year-old Sybil Ludington. The next morning, Ludington rounds up 470 militiamen. They're joined by 2,000 American soldiers. And what do? They march to Danbury. And they take place in a battle at Richfield, Connecticut, known as the Battle of Richfield, or also known as the Battle of Bound Brook. Okay? So, the next morning, Ludington's 470 militia are joined by 2,000 American soldiers. They march to Richfield, Connecticut, and have a battle with the British there. Do they win the battle? No. But what does their aggression ensure? What do they still gain by their aggression?
Moral.
That, and the British didn't get the what? Ammo or the supplies. Now, did they defeat the British and stop the war forever? No. But what they did is they taught the British, you better never come back to Connecticut again, because this is what you're going to get, it's a fight. So, because of the heroics of Sybil Ludington and her father, Henry Ludington, Danbury is saved, the ammunition and supplies as well. Okay, any questions on that? Alright, we're going to move into kind of an interesting subtopic. I like it anyway. Military muskets versus Kentucky long rifles and a blown opportunity by the British. This is a good subtopic here. Okay? Military muskets versus Kentucky long rifles and a blown opportunity for the British. Now, by the fall of 1777, approximately 500 American riflemen are going to try to help level the playing field against the British in New York. By the fall of 1777, 500 American riflemen are going to help level the playing field against the British in New York. What are we going to develop here with these American riflemen? They're called sharpshooters. Basically what they are, modern day sniper. Okay? Sharpshooters. They actually had the name Widowmakers by the British because of the remarkable accuracy of their Kentucky long rifles. They were widowmakers. In other words, they were killing people and making their wives widows. Okay? They were very, very proficient in shooting these Kentucky long rifles. Now, what type of a weapon was used in the Continental Army? Military musket. Okay? Now, I'll tell you the difference between a Kentucky long rifle and a military musket, and why these Kentucky long rifles were used by sharpshooters or snipers in this particular battle in New York. So picture this out. Talk about a musket first. A musket has a very smooth barrel. And the ball was smaller than the barrel. So if you take a look at that, and here's my barrel of my gun, and it's smooth inside, and obviously the ball or bullet is smaller, as it travels down the barrel, what's it going to do? It's going to bounce around, which makes it more accurate or less accurate? Less. Way less. Okay? And the idea behind a musket that had a smooth barrel with the small ball, which meant that the bullet traveled erratically until it left the weapon, is the musket was used to shoot into a group as a volley, with the idea that the bullet would hit something, not necessarily what you were aiming at. So you see a lot of this in Revolutionary and Civil War battles, where they go ready, aim, fire, and they're not shooting at any particular thing specifically, they're shooting into the group, knowing that that bullet, as it bounces down the barrel and leaves, is going to get in that vicinity and hit something. That's called volley fire. That was very, very prevalent in the Revolutionary War and even in the Civil War. Okay, you've seen it. You've seen one group marching at the other group. They go ready, aim, fire, and then the other group goes ready, aim, fire. Those are volley shots. Those are shots that are intended to hit something, but not necessarily any specific thing. A Kentucky long rifle was much different. Had a long barrel, thus the name, and there were grooves inside the barrel. Wasn't smooth, had grooves. Okay? Had grooves inside the barrel. Now, when you have grooves inside a barrel, it makes the ball or bullet spin. It doesn't go like this, it spins. And as it spins and goes down the barrel, what the end of the barrel is usually smaller? The end or the back here? The end is smaller. So as it spins in the groove and it gets smaller and smaller, it goes faster and faster, and when it comes out, it's more accurate because it's not bouncing all around. Okay? A lot of difference. So the Kentucky long rifle had a long barrel with grooves inside the barrel, making the bullet spin, giving it much more accurate trajectory. Now, a skilled sniper or sharpshooter at this time could hit a specific enemy soldier from anywhere from 100 to 300 yards. Did they have scopes on these guns? No. Pretty primitive sights. But these guys were so accurate with these Kentucky long rifles that they could shoot very accurately from anywhere from 100 to 300 yards. And that's why they were trained specifically to be sharpshooters. Now, probably one of the Army's most skilled sniper was a 20-year-old Pennsylvania backwoodsman by the name of Timothy Murphy. Okay? Probably one of the most skilled of these 500 snipers during the American Revolution was a 20-year-old Pennsylvania backwoodsman by the name of Timothy Murphy. Now, what's a backwoodsman? Anybody know what a backwoodsman is? Kind of, yeah. You're out, not out much. Okay? You're kind of backwoodsman means you're pretty skilled in the backcountry and you're not out, you're not socially going to tea parties very often. Okay, you're in the back, you're backwoodsman. Very well trained in tracking, hiking, shooting, surviving, those types of things. And Timothy Murphy was considered one of the most skilled snipers of those 500 that were trained. Now, again we have rules of war in the 18th century. And it was an unwritten law that officers were not to be picked out of a battle and targeted. In other words, these snipers were not to shoot officers on horses, etc. Okay? The reason why is because these officers are required through their military training to lead their men into battle. Okay? And when you lead your men into battle, you're often in the most vulnerable position to be shot. And the unwritten rule was if you were a gentleman, you did not shoot officers in battle. Because if you did, all of a sudden you'd have leaderless armies at war with each other, and the disarray would just be unbearable to stand. There were some rules of war, and one was you were not to shoot officers, ever. Okay? Because they're in the most vulnerable position, and if you start every battle out by shooting their officers on both sides, pretty soon the men don't know what to do, it's in disarray, it doesn't work. Well, despite this rule, the American snipers' most valued targets during the Revolutionary War were British officers, because that's their advantage to shoot the officers and get the British Army in disarray. That was the idea. Well, Britain wasn't used to that, because in their rules of war, when they fought every other way, you didn't do those types of things. It happened in the Civil War. The South always shot behind bushes and rocks and stuff while the North marched in formation, because that was the military tradition. And the South was looked upon as scumballs, you know, because they were actually violating this and they were shooting from behind cover instead of marching up. You know what I mean? So this was kind of a weird thing that people are going to have to get used to. Now actually, if you shot an officer in battle, it was deemed a war crime and an ungentlemanly act of war, and you could be punished for such a thing, especially the first part. If it's a war crime, what is your punishment? Death. Okay? That's how the British looked at it. Not so much how the Americans looked at it. Okay? Now, if you can't beat them, join them. So because of the continued violation of this code and the success by these colonial sharpshooters, what did the British Army begin to do? Well, first of all, they trained sharpshooters and targeted American leaders. Because if you can't beat them, join them. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you a story tomorrow about a chance that a British sharpshooter had to end the Revolutionary War with one shot. A British sharpshooter who messed it up and allowed Americans to eventually win this war. If this guy doesn't mess this up, the war is over. I'm in favor of the British that day. Okay? But he does mess it up.